Ubisoft has officially made an apology for their decisions with Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm going to go through some of these pictures here that they've released with their statement. They have 4 entire pages of this crap. It says the Assassin's Creed Shadows team has a message for our Japanese community. It's funny, it says we've received some criticism, including from you, our Japanese players. It's hilarious to me that it took a massive petition against this game that took place in Japan, and also I believe the government was getting involved with it over there, for them to finally make an apology. So this is an apology to the Japanese players only? Fuck everybody else that was concerned about this, I guess. We share the passion and history and deeply respect your care for the historical and cultural integrity of your rich heritage. Shut the fuck up. No, you don't. We have put significant effort into ensuring an immersive and respectful representation of feudal Japan. Yeah, right? However, our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representations of history or historical characters. Keep this in mind for later. This game is first and foremost designed to be an entertaining video game that tells a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. But the team extensively collaborated with external consultants, historians. So you're collaborating with historians. Why? It's a fantasy. I thought it was fantasy. Now let me make this clear. Nobody's stating that these games have ever been 100% historically accurate. It sounds like they're trying to say the same thing here, but when you're basing this character Yasuke on a real historical character and then you go back and say, well, it was fantasy the whole time, you're not to be taken seriously. So despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials have caused concern within the Japanese community. Not just the Japanese community, guys. It's been everybody who's been criticizing this. Like, we're talking about the katana that was from One Piece that you guys used in some sort of immersive, like, promotional event that you guys did, and there was some sort of, like, cheap ass, like, Chinese doll that was purchased on Amazon or some shit that was used for it. There was also a promotional item that was shipped out to some, I believe it was Japanese content creators for this game, and the Japanese lettering on it was incorrect. Like, I've heard some of the mats from the reveal trailer were inaccurate. Apparently they included Chinese architecture in this game. Apparently they also used Mandarin in some of the promotional material. And then they talk about how their consultant partners aren't responsible for anything. Whatever. Creative liberties and historical inspirations. While we strive for authenticity in everything that we do, Assassin's Creed games are work of fiction inspired by real historical events and figures. From its inception, From its inception, the series has taken creative license and incorporated fantasy elements to craft engaging and immersive experience. Okay, so Ubisoft is doing the same shit too. So it's not just fantasy elements that have been included in these games, right? When you're talking about Assassin's Creed historical fiction, I've explained this so many times in my previous videos. The historical fiction in these games is lore related, and there's 3 elements to that. That's the Assassin Brotherhood, the Templar Order, and the First Civilization, the Isu. None of that has anything to do with making Yasuke a samurai. But they're using that same argument here, it seems. From its inception, the series has taken creative license and incorporated fantasy elements to craft engaging and immersive experiences. The representation of Yasuke in our game is an illustration of this. There you go! His unique and mysterious life made him an ideal candidate to tell an Assassin's Creed story with the setting of feudal Japan as a backdrop. Also, he was black. While Yasuke is depicted as a samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we acknowledge that this is a matter of debate and discussion. I thought we were racist for questioning this shit. Now you acknowledge this? Every other fucking tweet and Instagram post and Facebook post was referring to him as Yasuke the legendary samurai, the samurai of legend. You guys couldn't stop calling him that. And then they mentioned Nawe. Who gives a shit about Nawe? Ubisoft actually mentioned how these ninjas were supposed to be like the most highly trained assassins, but who do we play as? A young little girl. Are you fucking kidding me? They're like, look, she's important too, guys. She's equally important in the game. I don't care. Who fucking cares? So this is an interview with the game director, Charles Benoit, whatever the hell. I wanted to highlight something that he said here. He says, we're at the end of the Sengoku era and a turning point of Japan history. Assassin's Creed is well known for its depiction of the history and accurate recreation of the world, and it's what players can expect with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're showing real historical figures such as Oda Nobunaga and a lot of events that happened during that time. So you're not only playing in feudal Japan, but learning about that fantastic time period. So all these fuckers out there who are talking about how it's never been historically accurate, and they said that it's not historically accurate, they pride themselves on it. They've always prided themselves on it, outside of the lore. Oh, it's fantasy though. I'm gonna quickly go through this too. So this is Grums. He actually kind of rewrote a lot of these sentiments that Ubisoft put out into a more accurate interpretation. Like, we're scared nobody's pre-ordering, please support us. I like this one here. We're passionate devs, not a soulless corporation. Really, it's like we're an indie. Don't you guys love indies? Talking about mashed Chinese and Japanese cultures together, stole art. Where it says, however, our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representations. Translates to, please ignore the last 2 paragraphs. We totally didn't mean it. This is fantasy. Just because we hired historians and researchers and respect Japan and marketed that way for months with our man-boy-love historian and fraud Thomas Lockley mean nothing. This is fantasy. How dare you get it wrong? And you got the same sentiment down here. Our team extensively collaborated with external consultants, historians, researchers, and internal teams at Ubisoft Japan to inform our creative choices, which translates to, once again, for the 3rd time in this apology, we're telling you we hired the best historians and researchers, but we are totally not marketing this as a historical game, guys. If we get it wrong and crap all over Japan, just remember, we are only crapping on you as a fantasy. Despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials have caused concern. Actually, our CEO and staff called Elon Musk and gamers racist, hateful bigots and said you were all fake Japanese pretending to be mad, but hey, bygones be bygones, exactly. I believe that was Mark Alexi Cote who said all that bullshit about Elon. Right here, after Elon Musk tweeted DEI kills art in response to the Assassin's Creed Shadows controversy, Mark Alexi Cote, who is a higher up at Ubisoft, went and did this interview and said, for me, Elon, it's sad, he's just feeding hatred. And at the bottom here, Grums kind of points out how ridiculous it is that these consultants carry no responsibility, apparently. Like, did Ubisoft even listen to them? It was for laughs, apparently. And here we have the 4th and final page here, where it says, while we strive for authenticity in everything that we do, that translates to, look, for the 4th time this apology, we took great pains to be authentic and historical, but we're not. We're a complete fantasy. That's why we keep bringing up history. Exactly. So here where they talk about how Yasuke was not a confirmed samurai, Grums actually talks about how, I don't know if it was Ubisoft that did these things, but certainly with Britannica and Wikipedia, there were a lot of historical revisions and changes and rewritings going on, talking about how Yasuke was a samurai, completely removing the idea that he might not have been. And now they're coming out and saying that, yeah, no, it is up for debate. Why are all you Japanese so mad about this? It's just revising history to support our billion-dollar corporate narrative. Sheesh. Please buy our game. We're begging you. We only have this in Star Wars Outlaws, and you saw how crappy that looked. And lastly, I wanted to point this out here. This is Ubisoft Japan tweeting out that same apology in Japanese. And apparently the replies are just a bunch of Japanese people destroying them. 9 million views and counting. And I like the point he makes here. If Ubisoft really wanted to make Assassin's Creed Shadows fiction, why didn't they just use a fictional character and make him Japanese? It's because they had an agenda to push, and they wanted to use somebody who was real so they could fall back on that. Oh, but it was a real person in history. But also, it's fantasy, and it's not meant to be historically accurate. Fuck off. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If I see more stuff that pisses me off about this game, I'm gonna rant about it. I've been working on my own Assassin's Creed project recently. That's why I've been away from the channel for a bit. I've talked about it before. I believe it was my very first video on this channel. It's an animation. It's taken a lot of time. And I would rather make something I like than bitch about things, but sometimes it's gotta be done. So, yeah, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm gonna be making more videos. I'll talk to you guys later.